Ethiopia has signed an initial agreement with Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland to use its Red Sea port of Berbera. The MOU paves the way to allow Ethiopia to have commercial marine operations in the region. For more on that, we're joined by Girum Challa, who is in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, and Mohammed Kahiye is in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. For more on that, thank you so much to you both for joining us. Girum, let's begin with you in Addis. What more can you tell us, Girum, about this initial agreement between Ethiopia and Somaliland?
So the Ethiopian government, Hannah, called this a historic agreement, a memorandum of understanding between Somaliland and Ethiopia. Because of this, it's expected perhaps in the next few months' time, Ethiopia is going to gate access to the sea, constructing a port for its exports and imports. At the same time, there is also a significant move that's going to be made by Addis Ababa, forming a military base for its navy and also air force in that country. The agreement also depicts that Ethiopia is going to perhaps provide recognition, the first of its kind in the world for Somaliland, and also provide share of one of the most successful enterprises in Ethiopia. It could be Ethiopian Airlines or Ethio Telecom. So generally, what this is going to be is a milestone for Ethiopia, according to authorities here, as Ethiopia has been requesting neighboring nations, including Eritrea and Somalia and Somaliland itself, to provide it with the much needed access to the Red Sea. And we know that this is going to be also concluded in about a month's time, as details need to be worked out. So what we know is a military base and also a commercial port is going to be constructed inside Somaliland because of this agreement, and in return, like I said, recognition of Somaliland and also, of course, share of some of Ethiopia's enterprises is going to be given to the authorities in that place.
Mohammed, let's bring you in to this discussion from Mogadishu. Somalia's cabinet, we understand, has called for an emergency meeting on Ethiopia-Somaliland port deal. Has the meeting taken place, Mohammed, and do we know what is expected to be discussed at that meeting?
Well, Hannah, an emergency cabinet meeting convened by the Somalia's Prime Minister has just concluded some few minutes ago, and the Somali government has described the port and naval base deal by Ethiopia in Somaliland as null and void. It called upon the Ethiopian government, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed administration, to respect international norms, respect UN and EU Charter, and respect also the territorial borders of Somalia. As a form of protest, the Somali government has recalled its ambassador from Addis Ababa and urged consultations with Somali, its ambassador, who will be jetting in within the next few minutes. The Somali Prime Minister was talking to his cabinet a few minutes ago after conclusion of that meeting has this to say.
We are calling upon Somali people to be calm, and we want to assure them that we are committed to defending our nation. We will not accept an inch of our land, sea and air borders being violated. We will use all available legal framework to defend our international borders.
Let's go back to Girum, who is standing by for us in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Girum, Ethiopia has previously used Djibouti as the principal maritime outlet for imports and exports. Why Somaliland?
So, Hannah, Djibouti continues to be serving the purpose of the import-export business of Ethiopia through its several ports, 9 of them to be very specific. But the problem is, and this is according to authorities, there are going to be 2 decisive factors for Ethiopia to look around the region to find better places for the use of commercial port or others. The first one is expenses. Ethiopia reportedly pays close to $2 billion for Djibouti for port services. And the Ethiopian government believes that this is too much and that money could have been used for the prosperity of the nation, and that hasn't been the case so far. So this requires you to find a port that can be used by Ethiopia for perhaps in negotiating terms of using it for its own purposes without paying that kind of that kind of money. The other most important issue is security. As you know, Ethiopia believes that because of the geopolitical situation of the region itself and also the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, access to the Red Sea is very important. It has formed its own navy, a very strong navy, by the way, as many are also evaluating it. But then again, there is no access to the sea that this navy is going to operate in. So Ethiopia wants this access to the Red Sea for commercial purposes, to slash expenses, and at the same time to use it for its forces, so that it can defend its national sovereignty at the same time. That is what we are hearing. But the economic factor, according to experts, is the one that is having much of the grip in this decision by Ethiopia to work with Somaliland. But we should also wait and see in the next perhaps a few months' time what kind of details that this agreement between the two sides is going to hold. But for now, many Ethiopians believe that this is something that is going to serve the purpose of Ethiopia, both economically and security-wise.
Mohammed, let's come back to you in Mogadishu. Why is the government and prominent Somali political figures opposed to this deal?
Well, Hannah, if you look back at history, the Somalia and Ethiopia have been arch rivals in this region since their existence. They fought two wars, one in 1964 and another in 1977, because of land and border disputes. Somalia, both countries have seen each other as rivals and, one as national security threats to each other's existence. We have seen that the Ethiopia, despite it, it is a military might, they have tried several times from history to try and, pursue its national interest inside Somalia several times. Somalia also did several times before. A good example is the region which is in question right now, which is Somaliland. When it was seceding from Somalia in 1990s, they received support and backing from Ethiopia, a lot of several resources. So Somalia, on the other side, believes that Ethiopia has been, interfering in its domestic affairs, left, right, and center for years, and now it is time to stop such kind of internal interference. And if these things, many people, analysts, believe that if the international community will not intervene, it can escalate to a much more worse situation, possibly a war between these two countries. So Somalia and Ethiopia have been described by many as a situation in the East Indian Ocean, what's going on between Pakistan and India in this kind of region. And many are saying that there's time to, approach both countries and calm down the situation before it explodes.
Well, this is certain to be a developing story in the coming days. We'll continue to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us